There is no bigger threat to the citizens of the United States in the Second Amendment than when you cannot defend yourself and your family and your possessions from law enforcement, especially, especially when they're breaking and entering into your home. Us. We're also going to talk about the murder, the murder of Breonna Taylor. This here, it really bothers me. She's an essential worker. And I believe they said she was sleeping on the couch. Now, hey, you know what? She's probably sleeping on the couch because she was wore out from all this COVID-19 madness, you know, sleeping on the couch. And there's a no-knock raid. Police bust the door down. Boom. 20 shots come out of their gun. 8 hit Breonna Taylor. She's dead. Her boyfriend figured someone was breaking and entering, and he is a licensed carrier, and he pulled out his weapon and he fired. Hit a police officer in the leg, and they arrested him for attempted murder of a police officer. Attempted murder of a police officer. And the suspect that they were supposed to do the no-knock raid for, I think he lived like 10 miles away. Totally different complex. And they had him in custody. They had the man in custody, and they went in and they killed that young woman. But her boyfriend, who tried to protect her, was arrested and will be prosecuted for attempted murder of a police officer. So you have to understand that language. Okay? When they kill us, it's just killing an unarmed black man. Right? When something happens to them, it's a police officer. It's a police officer. You know, they're not even human beings. They're not even human beings. They're above human beings, and they're above the law. That's why it's, you know, that's why they say that they shot a police officer, attempted murder of a police officer. Okay, so what's on the paperwork for Breonna Taylor? So when her boyfriend hears somebody trying to break the door down, he says, hey, you know what? I don't know who this is, but you know what? I'm ready for y'all ass. And he pulled out his weapon and he fired on him. He has the right to defend himself. He has the right to defend himself. But as a black man, he doesn't. That's the problem. That's the problem. As a black man, he doesn't. Now, if we look up Illinois self-defense laws, it talks about preservation of life is one of our primal instincts. Self-defense laws enable us to protect ourselves from injury or death by using a degree of force. Now, let's go back. It says it's one of our primal instincts. That is natural, to protect yourself. Protecting yourself, it's a human instinct. It's an instinct. It's automatic, okay? But when it comes to us, hey, why did you run? Hey, why was Ahmaud Arbery running? Well, hey, you got in the deep South, you got 2 white guys on a pickup truck with shotguns and rifles chasing you down the road talking about, hey, I just want to talk to you. No. Then you got another guy in the truck recording it. And he's talking about he's innocent. So you got two guys, and you know, you got two pickup trucks chasing you down the road in the deep South. What are you supposed to do? So I'm sure people are saying, well, he shouldn't have ran. I'm sure people are saying that. What is he supposed to do? So when they got into close proximity of each other, he did what he was supposed to do to protect himself, to preserve his life. His primal instinct was to preserve his life. So they're going to say, well, it was self-defense. You can't call self-defense when you initiate it, okay? When you initiated contact with Ahmaud Arbery. But not black folks. Black folks cannot have human instincts, okay? Because remember, we're still not looked at as human. So when we do things that are human-like, people look at that and say, nah, you can't do that. We can, not you. Understand that. The concept of self-defense generally not only applies to literally defending yourself, but also to defending others and property as well. In some cases, states have laws that preserve this right, but these laws can vary when it comes to circumstances under which you can use force and the type of force that can be used. For instance, some states can have a duty to retreat law, which require an individual to retreat, to run away from the situation before they can use force as a defense. So if you're in danger, there's a retreat law that says you have to run away from the situation before you can use self-defense, okay? They want self-defense to be a last resort, okay? Again, that it doesn't work for us. It doesn't work for us because guess what? Ahmaud Arbery ran. He retreated until he could no longer retreat, and he had to defend himself. Other states employ laws that do not call for a duty to retreat. These are often referred to as stand your ground laws or Castle Doctrine laws. Now, as it relates to Illinois self-defense, we have the Castle Doctrine, okay? Illinois doesn't recognize stand your ground laws. Instead, it uses a similar doctrine called the Castle Doctrine. Called the Castle Doctrine. That's what we recognize here, okay? So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the Castle Doctrine. So both stand your ground and Castle Doctrine jurisdictions differ from duty to retreat because they don't require an individual to first retreat from the danger before using force on an attacker. However, the Castle Doctrine, it gives people the right to avoid retreating in their home in order to protect themselves from intruders. Now, the intent of the law is that your home is equivalent to your castle. And as king or queen of your castle, you should not be required to retreat from people who have no right to be in your home. The Castle Doctrine limits this right to the home, and as contrasted to stand your ground laws, which have no such limitation. So if you're at home and someone's breaking into your house, you according to this, now, hey, I gotta get this disclaimer because, hey, you know what? I gotta say I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not telling you what to do in any way. I'm just giving you the facts, but I can't tell you what to do. You know, but we got somebody in the White House who can act as a doctor and tell you to take different types of drugs and inject yourselves with bleach and Lysol. That's a whole nother story. However, we have the Castle Doctrine here. So we have different statutes. So the use of force in defense of a person statute, and then we have use of force in defense of your dwelling, okay? So Use of force in defense of a person. A person can use force. This is in Illinois. A person can use force against another if he or she reasonably believes that it is necessary to defend himself or herself or another against the individual's imminent use of unlawful force. Okay. So the problem with this, with defending your person, is that you can't defend you. You are not allowed, especially black folks. We are not allowed to defend ourselves against law enforcement when they are trampling and infringing on every constitutional right, every civil right that we're protected under. We're not allowed to protect ourselves, even to our own detriment, right? Even if it kills us, we cannot protect ourselves. Because you know what they say? Well, he should have complied. If you just comply, how many people comply? How many times do we comply and it still doesn't work out? We have to find a way to defend ourselves. As relates to use of force in the defense of a person can use deadly force only if he or she reasonably believes that such force is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to him, her, or another person. So you can protect these are Illinois laws. You can protect someone else. You can protect yourself, but you can also protect someone else to prevent imminent death, great bodily harm, or to prevent a felony from being committed. That's what you can do. Okay. The only thing about it, when you talk about felony, so many things fall under a felony. So if somebody stole an iPhone, or somebody, snatched some money from a cash register and ran, that's a felony. Do they deserve to be shot and killed? No. But that's where everything gets tricky. Okay. And this is an Illinois law. Okay. It is the 720 ILCS 5/7-1, use of force in defense of person. So they're telling you, if you want to prevent a felony from being committed, you can use deadly force if you reasonably believe that such force is necessary to prevent imminent danger or great bodily harm, or to prevent a felony from being committed. So just know that here in Illinois, they're saying that you can kill someone if they're committing a felony. This is why I made a video after the Ahmaud Arbery murder, lynching, and I said that the best thing that we can do for the people of Georgia is we can support them from here, but the people of Georgia have to make changes to their laws. I can't make changes to the laws in Georgia. I can support the people, but I can't make the changes. If you don't live in Georgia, you can't affect those changes. But what you can do, you can look at what happened, and you can look at your own laws in the respective states and cities and towns and that you live in. And if it doesn't sound right, if the wording is off, if the wording allows for people to be murdered to prevent a felony from being committed, not while a felony is being committed, to prevent a felony from being committed, it's legal. Got a problem with that. Got a problem with that. This is why when things happen across the nation, we have to check ourselves first. Then we can support, but we got to check ourselves first. All right. I'm going to talk about the use of force of a dwelling, your home. Okay. This is statute 720 ILCS 5/7-2. Okay. This is for Illinois. Again, this is for the state of Illinois. A person can use force against another when he or she reasonably believes that it is necessary to prevent or terminate another's unlawful entry into or attack on to a dwelling. I'll read that one more time. A person can use force against another when he or she reasonably believes that it is necessary to prevent or terminate another's unlawful entry into or attack onto a dwelling. Okay? You can use force. You can use force. It did not say deadly force. Okay? It did not say deadly force in that statute. Now let's talk about deadly force. A person can use deadly force only if the entry is made in a violent, riotous, or tumultuous manner, and there is a reasonable belief that the force is necessary to prevent an assault, personal violence against him or her, or another in the dwelling. If the person reasonably believes the force is necessary to prevent a felony from being committed, okay, you can use deadly force if the person reasonably believes the force is necessary to prevent a felony from being committed. Okay. Now, here we go. So you mean to tell me I can use deadly force only if they're kicking my door down, but if they just walk in like, hey, I just wanted to borrow some sugar. No, you can't borrow any sugar. You know what I'm saying? So if someone just walks into your house non-violently, you cannot use any force or deadly force against that intruder. They're trespassing, but you can't use deadly force. Again, we can fight for Georgia. And I support Ahmaud Arbery. I support Arbery and his family, and Breonna Taylor and her family, and a brother in Indianapolis who was murdered. And a cop stood over him and said, hey, it's going to be a closed casket. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I support them and their families, but we got to get our shit straight here. So that won't happen to us here in Illinois. We should have the right to protect ourselves. Okay? There is no, now, the, black folks keep talking about, well, where's the NRA? Where's the NRA? Why won't they, say something about this brother who tried to protect his girlfriend and he ended up being put in jail for attempted murder of a police officer? We're not talking about the NRA. We know the NRA is not going to support us. We know, evangelicals are all about guns and the Bible, or the Bible and the guns. They're not going to support us. They're not going to support us. Black folks, let me tell you something. I keep a copy of the Constitution in my bag. I keep a copy of the Constitution on my phone. Okay? I always keep a copy of the Constitution. Black folks it is imperative that you know this Constitution forwards and backwards and you study it. Now, that's the United States Constitution. You need to study your state constitution. You need to study laws. You need to study laws. That's my advice to Black folks. It's not the solution, but it's part of the solution to Black folks surviving in 2020. It's part of a solution. We have to better educate ourselves on how this system works and what rights we have and what rights we don't have, or privileges, or whatever you want to call it. We can't be the only ones who are afraid of self-defense. Yeah, there's so much going on in our community. There's a lot of crime. There's a lot of gun violence in our community. The Constitution demands that you have a gun. The Constitution demands that you protect yourself from a tyrannical government. This is the Constitution. They demand this. They demand this. And you should be able to take part in defending yourself. So there is, nobody's taking your guns. Nobody's taking your guns. And I know, the Second Amendment freaks, they're going to talk about, people taking their guns. And there is no bigger threat to the citizens of the United States in the Second Amendment than when you cannot defend yourself and your family and your possessions from law enforcement, especially when they're breaking and entering into your home, the wrong home and the wrong person. You should have the right to defend yourself. There's no bigger threat to the Second Amendment than that. Nobody's taking your gun.